Look at the picture very attentively. Can you tell which prisoner is rich? The first one is sewing something. She must be working as a seamstress. She probably isn't that rich. The second one has some pieces of jewelry. But in the second place where the prisoners are, the golden chains don't mean much. The third one is reading quietly and doesn't cause any trouble. That's a rich person's behavior. They usually don't want to attract attention, especially in jail. It was November, but Jasmine already had some bad grades at school. So, her mother, Mrs. Lawrence, grounded her until Jasmine improved her grades. Mrs. Lawrence worked night shifts and had to leave for work. One day, when she returned home, she realized that Jasmine had sneaked out at night to go to a party. How did Mrs. Lawrence understand it? It's fall. The car is parked right under the tree, but unlike their neighbors' cars, it's not covered in leaves. It means Jasmine had just returned home after the night party. Vienna was wandering in a forest and came across a huge and spooky mansion. When she walked in, the door behind her back got locked. It was an old magician's house. He didn't like when strangers visited his mansion. Soon, Vienna saw 3 drinks on the table. The yellow one would allow the girl to live for a month without water or food. The purple one would make her the size of an index finger for an hour. The blue one would give her a lion's strength for half an hour. Which one should she drink? The purple drink. She'll become small and she'll be able to escape through that little cat door. Esme was walking in the forest, but she got lost. Soon, the girl found the witch's house, entered it, petted the cat, and asked if the witch could send her home. The witch had just gotten a new laptop and a 3-digit password. She asked Esme to figure out what it was. Esme made 4 guesses: 357, 902, 907, 954. Obviously, she didn't get it right. The witch gave her a hint. Each of Esme's guesses had 1 correct digit, and it was exactly in the right place. What's the password? The first digit can't be 9, so it's 3. Then, the second and third digits can't be 5 and 7, so the second digit must be 0, and the third one is 4, which means the code is 304. Sailor and Evie were best friends who wanted to spend the winter vacation together. Unfortunately, Sailor's grandmother fell ill, and she had to go to another city to be with her. Evie was missing her friend. Once, she was walking past her empty house. Soon, Evie realized that Sailor had lied to her about the grandma and was actually at home. How did Evie understand it? Look, it's been snowing that day, but there's no snow near Sailor's house. It means that Sailor must be there. Mrs. Rivera was a math teacher grading her students' homework. Halfway through, she came across 2 similar homework sheets. The woman realized that one of the students had copied the work of the other because the mistakes were the same. The sheet on the right is McKenna's, and the left one belongs to Maeve. Can you tell who copied the other's homework? Look, McKenna corrected herself a couple of times, while Maeve's work is exceptionally neat, except for the mistakes. Mrs. Rivera corrected. This means that McKenna was doing her homework by herself, occasionally making typos and mistakes. And Maeve's paper is neat because she just copied McKenna's work. One day, Mrs. York invited some guests to a fancy dinner in her mansion. A couple of teenagers were running around, exploring the house. When Mrs. York went to the basement, she saw that the showcase that contained her jewelry collection was broken. One girl, Hannah, admitted she'd thrown a baseball, and it had accidentally hit the showcase, but the showcase had already been damaged by that time. Can you tell if she's lying? The crack from the baseball must be the one on the right. If the baseball was the first thing to crack the glass, the cracks would stretch to the frame of the showcase, but they only reached the other cracks, which means that the baseball was, indeed, secondary damage. So Hannah told the truth. Mrs. Jones was working a night shift. Her daughter Venus wanted to invite a friend to sleep over, but Mrs. Jones didn't allow it because it was a school night. When she returned, she realized that the friend had actually visited Venus. How did she understand it? There are 2 sets of plates and cups in Venus's room. It means that she didn't spend the evening alone. Now, how about having more fun? I'll show you some emojis, and you'll have to guess an animated movie. Let's start with an easy one. Which animated movie is it? Yes, it's Sleeping Beauty. Okay, the next one. What's your guess? Of course, it's everyone's favorite, Up. What do you have to say about this one? Animals hanging out in the forest? It's Bittersweet Bambi. Now, off to a girl's absolute obsession. Yes, that's Frozen. Let it go. Let's make it a tiny bit harder for you. It's Sweet Wally. What about the next one? It's Ratatouille. Off to the next one. What's your guess? A movie about a crazy princess with a frying pan and a chameleon? The one and only Tangled. The next one is an oldie but a goodie. It's Monsters, Inc. What can you say about this one? Coco. I'm sure you'd love it if you watched it. Okay, a crazy one for you. Think about it. Joy, sadness, disgust, fear, and anger. That's Inside Out. And the last one's for you. Don't overthink, it's pretty simple. Yes, that's Toy Story. Dakota and Tatum both failed their math test. Their mother grounded them and made them study all weekend. She occasionally walked into the teenagers' room to check on them. Take a look at the girls. Can you tell which one hadn't been studying before her mom walked in? It's Dakota, sitting on her bed reading the math book. but there's no copybook or pen nearby. No one just reads math books. Math is more about writing and doing exercises. Just look at Tatum. Andromeda came to her PE class and told her teacher that, unfortunately, she couldn't participate in class because she had broken her arm. The teacher didn't believe her and told the girl to stop fooling around. Do you think Andromeda tells the truth? Why didn't the teacher believe her? Look, her cast is put over her hoodie. It must be fake. In the middle of the day, the lights in a jewelry store went off for a minute. Once the lights were back, the seller saw that the most expensive diamond had been stolen. There were 3 customers in the store at that time. Desmond, a blind man, said that he couldn't have stolen anything. Cassidy said that while the lights had been off, she'd been standing without moving. Kira said that she'd been trying to find her cell phone to turn on the flashlight. Who stole the diamond? It must be Desmond. He pretends to be blind, but look, he has a camera. He wouldn't need it if he was really blind. Last week, Pandora went to a party without asking her dad for permission. Mr. Pond found out about this and grounded the girl for 2 weeks. There was another party planned for the next weekend, but Pandora had to stay in her room. The morning after the party, Mr. Pond came to his daughter's room and asked what she'd been doing the evening before. She said she'd been painting. Pandora got grounded for another month. Why? There are indeed painting supplies on her desk, but the picture is barely started. Mr. Pond realized that Pandora hadn't been painting for long because she had sneaked out and gone to the party. Another day, another incident. This time, another jewelry store was robbed. 2 of the most expensive wedding rings were stolen. It happened after the store closed. So the main suspects were the cleaning man and security guard, the only people who had the keys to the store. Detective Jane decided to visit both men, look at their houses, and figure out who stole the rings. It must be the security guy. He obviously lives with a girlfriend, and it seems like they want to get married. That's why he stole the rings. Michelle had a birthday party, and she invited several friends. Flora didn't want to go because she didn't like being around many people. So she lied that her mom had grounded her and made her clean her room. The next day, she invited Michelle to her house to study together and watch a movie in the evening. Michelle agreed. But at Fleur's house, she understood that her friend had lied to her. How? Flora's room is still messy. If she had cleaned it the day before, it'd be neat now. 3 sisters, Serenity, Autumn, and Polaris, were at a party. They were offered to play a game. If they won, they'd get a good prize. There were 5 hats, 3 white ones and 2 blue ones. Each girl stood in line, one after another, and got one random hat. Serenity could see the colors of both her sisters' hats. Autumn could only see what Polaris was wearing, and Polaris couldn't see any of her sisters. Anyone could speak up and try to guess her hat's color, but it could only be one of the girls. If she got it right, they'd all win. After a while, Polaris guessed the color of her hat correctly. How did she do it? If Serenity saw blue hats, she'd be, but she didn't speak up. One of the hats she saw, Autumn realized that River had a blue hat, has a white one, but which means Harris realized that and said,
Right now, you're going to test your observation skills. This test has 4 levels, and each one's trickier than the last. Find a pen and a piece of paper to write down your score. For each correct answer, you'll get some points. 1 if it's the first level, 2 if it's the second one, 3 for the third, and 4 for the last one. The results will be at the end of the video. Level 1. 1. So, how many legs can you see in this picture? Right, there are 12 legs, 6 wearing dress shoes, and 6 with high heels. 2. There's an animal in this picture that's trying really hard to blend in. Can you spot it? Aha! It's this piglet, but its nose gives it away. 3. Can you find 3 animals hidden in this picture? Right, 3 ducks are hiding among the tree branches. 4. What's wrong with this image? 2 moons? Really? 5. Can you spot anything strange in this picture? A snake is pretending to be a giraffe here. 6. Just another regular day at the supermarket. Or is it? It would be if the lady on the left wasn't wearing skis. 7. How about this image? Is everything correct here? Not really. There's something wrong with the exit sign. 8. Why is this laundry trip gonna end badly? Because who on earth washes white shirts together with red socks? Not me. 9. This picture looks weird, but why? The mouse is chasing the cat, not the other way around. 10. Can you spot the odd image? Yep, it's the sprinkled donut in the corner. Well, that was easy. Okay, I'm up for some challenges now. Level 2. 11. Which kitty is different from the rest? This one seems to be more pleased with life than the others. 12. There are 4 mistakes in this picture. Try to find all of them. Well, let's see. A globe under the sink, a pair of shoes in the cupboard, a shirt instead of the curtains, and a table lamp instead of the faucet. This woman's life must be full of adventures. 13. Can you see 2 different things in this image? It can be a girl or someone's face. 14. Do you see a deer? A real master of camouflage. 15. Can you find 3 animals here? I've only got one question. What are rabbits doing up there? 16. There are 3 things wrong in this picture. Can you spot them all? There's no red light and no rails for the tram. And December 32nd? Seriously? You really want 2020 to last that much longer? 17. Which girl looks different? The one in the right bottom corner, because it's a boy. 18. Which magician is different from the rest? Yeah, he probably decided to stand out from the crowd by wearing a different cloak. 19. Something is missing in this picture, but what exactly? The sun is bright, but then, where are the camel's shadows? 20. Which emoji is different? Yep, the non-winking one. Okay, not so bad. What's next? Surprise me. Level 3. 21. How many cubes are there in this picture? There are 9 cubes. 22. Can you spot the odd one? Yeah, it looks a bit shorter than the rest. 23. Can you figure out which string is tied to the banana? I'd bet on the first one, but it's actually number 3. 24. How many animals can you see in this picture? There are 3 foxes. 25. Something's wrong with this picture, but what? The pitcher is empty. Where's the milk coming from? 26. Can you read what's written here? It's a mystery. No, you don't get it. The word is mystery. 27. Which unicorn is different? This one, because it's a horse, not a unicorn. 28. What's wrong in this picture? The fish doesn't have fins. 29. What's hidden here? A tiny hint, it's alive. Right, it's a giant panda. 30. What can you see in this image? It's either a face or a penguin. Wow, to tell you the truth, that level made me sweat. Level 4. 31. Can you find a snake in this picture? Duh, looks like a tree root to me. 32. What can you see in this image? There are 2 trees and a woman's head. 33. Can you find the farmer's wife? Here's a hint, she's somewhere nearby. Who would have guessed you could turn the image upside down? 34. The children are sure the astronomer is still in the room, but where can he be hiding? He really didn't want to be found. 35. These geese are in danger. A predator's hiding somewhere in the picture. Wow, almost missed it. How spooky. 36. What's hidden in this picture? It's a big, toothy, scary shark. 37. How many things can you see in this picture? It can be a beggar or it can be a face, depending on your perspective. 38. This image is quite obvious. Or is it? Try turning it upside down. Then, the rabbit will turn into a man with a long mustache. 39. And what can you see in this picture? It might be a happy dog, or an equally cheerful cat. 40. And finally, can you read this? You don't say. Bad eyes? Okay, this level was actually mind-boggling, but I'm looking forward to learning my results. If your score is 0 to 25 points, work more on your observation skills, and you'll get better. If you've got 26 to 50 points, you have a quick eye. With more practice, you'll soon become a pro. If you have 51 to 75 points, you're as attentive as Sherlock. You can spot the tiniest details without much effort. But if you've got 76 to 100 points, wow! I can't but feel a bit intimidated. Nothing can escape your eagle eye. It's better not to mess with you.
How many colors do you see here? If your answer is 3, you're not wrong. Do you think it's 17? Could be.
What?
Although the image went viral just recently, the explanation to this mystery is at least a century and a half old. It was discovered by an Austrian math and physics professor, Mach. He noticed you can easily distinguish between similar colors of slightly contrasting shades when they're close to each other. When you set them apart, the difference is barely noticeable. The professor thought it had something to do with the construction of the eyeball and the tissue the retina is made of. The bands effect was later named Mach bands in his honor. Years later, when they had better technology, scientists found the professor was basically right. Your retina is similar to a cinema screen. It captures light that's projected through the pupil. Receptors are all over that screen. Some of them are more active under bright light and send a whole lot of signals to the brain. When 2 cells send similar signals, you might think it's the same shade. Nerves are trying to solve this problem. They send stronger signals to make the difference more obvious at the border of different shades. Your brain then notices a clear boundary. This explains why you can see the difference between similar shades when they're next to each other. The transition between colors can look like a separate color. Some people can't see the difference between contrasting colors in the picture because of how their brains are built. The color rendering abilities, brightness, and contrast of your laptop or smartphone screen is another reason. Then there's also the amount of lighting in your house or office. Plus, you don't have the same optics in your eyes that screen light as anyone else. You also have unique level of pigment density that affects how your eyes absorb light. You could even have more than regular 3 cone cell types and see more colors than others. And some people are more affected by the Mach bands phenomenon than others. That's why there's no correct answer to how many colors the image contains. Sometimes, uncertainty can make different people see one thing differently. The dress that was somehow gold and white, blue and black, blue and white, and blue at the same time became a real sensation. The picture was taken on a cell phone in a really weird lighting and overexposed. You can't tell if it was taken inside or outside, and that means you don't know if it's artificial or natural light. It's not clear if the light illuminates the dress from the front or the back. If it were backlit, there would have to be a shadow. Parts of the dress itself were in shadow. That shadow was reflecting off the dress itself, complicating things even more. Confused? Me too. When your brain doesn't have enough information, it fills in the gaps by making its own assumptions. It mostly makes them based on what it's previously seen or known. That's why your brain could make one guess about lighting conditions and someone else's a totally different one. People who thought it was in a shadow believed the dress was white and gold. Same with those who thought it was in natural light. Shadows and blue sky overrepresent blue light and make things seem yellowish. Oh, and the retailer of the dress officially confirmed it was black and blue, and that it was sold out in the first 30 minutes of business the day after it had gone viral. A new debate over the color of retro sneakers happened a few years later for the same reason. Are they teal and gray, or maybe pink and white? You can't be sure with weird camera quality, flash, and funky lighting. When you zoom in on the picture, you can notice the hand is unnaturally bluish. So, depending on how sensitive your eyes are to light and how your brain fills the visual information gaps, the sneakers can look different to you. In reality, they turned out to be pink and white. Do these strawberries look red to you? In fact, they're gray and green. The picture has been drained of any red. Your brain still makes you see it because of something known as color constancy. Your brain can sometimes ignore information from the color of the light. It knows what strawberries are, and it also knows they're supposed to be red, so it helps you see them as such. When an astronaut posted a picture of some sand dunes, the internet thought they were pits, not hills. Only when they flipped the pic over, people could see dunes in the indefinite pattern. Turns out your brain thought the sun was in the 1 o'clock position. It means it's supposed to be casting shadows from the upper right. In reality, it was casting shadows from the upper left. So, turning it upside down makes things more usual to your brain. How many black spots can you see in this image? There are 12 of them, but most people can't see them all at once. All the dots are perfectly visible, but you can see each of them only when you look directly at it. Your peripheral vision isn't that perfect. Your brain has to fill in the blanks. The white between gray lines makes it think the dots are lighter than they are, so it decides to pretend there's just grayer and the dots aren't there. Although one of them looks twice the size of the other, these guys are of the same size. They're placed in an Ames room, invented by an American ophthalmologist in the 1940s. You'd have to look into a pinhole at a room that seems to be a regular square but is a trapezoid. The walls and ceilings are tilted, and this makes your eyes see one person tower over another even when they move around. If you have a toy train track at home, you can see how the next illusion works in reality. You take 2 segments of the same size and put them next to each other. One of them looks obviously larger than the other one. That's because your brain compares the 2 sides of the pieces that are next to each other. It compares the right side of the track that's on the left to the left side of the track that's on the right. When you compare squares A and B in the checker shadow illusion, you can tell square A is much darker than square B. Your brain expects the cylinder to throw a shadow on the board. It compensates for the alternating colors it expected to find. If you still don't believe the squares are of the same color, you can compare them with a color selector in any photo editing program. In the Ebbinghaus illusion, the two circles in the middle of their circle sets are of the same size. Turns out the way you perceive the size of things is all about context. The circle surrounded by larger ones seems smaller, and the one in the company of smaller circles seems to be a giant. There are 12 dots here, all of them are lilac. Your task is to stare at the cross in the middle of the dot ring. As one lilac dot disappears for a moment, a green dot takes its place. It also gradually wipes away other lilac dots one by one as it moves around the circle. This is the after-image effect in action. The rods and cones adjust to the constant disappearance of lilac dots. They replace it with a color from the opposite end of the spectrum, which is green. Seeing motion in a still image is one of the most common types of optical illusions. To create one, you have to build a pattern of high-contrast colors. They activate neural signals at the same time. This is how the fake motion effect appears. Café wall illusion was first described in the late 19th century. The tile pattern of a café wall had straight parallel lines and grout in between them. It seemed the black and white lines sloped diagonally. That's because different types of neurons in your brain react to dark and light colors. Some parts of the grout line seem brighter than others. Where there's contrast, there appears to be asymmetry.